A cold drizzle fell on the November afternoon. The street in front of Frontenac Secondary School was slick and crowded with students heading home. Among them, Maya Sharma, a grade 12 student, walked slowly, holding a faded light blue umbrella. Her winter coat was frayed at the cuffs. Her backpack was torn at the corner, but her face was always calm. Full of patience, Maya lived with her mother, Reena, in a small rented townhouse in the north end of Kingston. Her father had passed away when she was in middle school. He had been a member of the Canadian Armed Forces, CAF, but had taken a job in construction after his service, where he died in a workplace accident. Since then, her mother had been the family's anchor, working long hours as a cashier at the local Food Basics. Life was tight, but Maya grew up strong and never complained. But beneath her gentle demeanor, Maya held a secret. She'd been trained by her late father. He always said, "Kiddo, don't you ever let anyone look down on you just because you're a girl. Strength isn't about muscle, it's about determination and heart." Maya remembered that lesson well. Every night before bed, she did the basic self-defense drills her father taught her. Simple but disciplined. It was why, despite seeming fragile, she possessed defensive skills that could rival a grown man. One morning at school, the atmosphere was different. In the main office, a serious discussion was underway between the principal and several Kingston police officers. Maya, who happened to be walking past, overheard a snatch of their conversation. "We're just here to check on a few students suspected of involvement in a data misuse case," one of the officers said, his voice loud. "But officer, they're minors. We need parental consent and a school board representative," replied Mr. Jacobs, the guidance counselor. The officer stared him down, unfazed. "We know what we're doing. This is a direct order from upstairs." Maya felt uneasy. She saw two students called into the office, her classmates, Ryan and Chloe. Both looked terrified. Several hours later, news spread that the police had taken them both to the station without a guardian. Students were anxious, but no one dared to speak up. The next day, Ryan wasn't back at school. Chloe returned, her eyes swollen. She was sitting in the school courtyard, staring at the ground. Maya stopped and asked softly, "Chloe, what's wrong? You look terrified." Chloe just shook her head, but tears started to fall. "They forced me to confess to something I didn't do. They said I stole exam data from the school server. I don't know anything about it, but they just kept yelling and threatening me." Maya's hands clenched. "Did you tell your parents?" "Yes. But the police said they have strong evidence." "I'm so scared, Maya." Maya looked at her friend with a mix of pity and anger. She knew Chloe wasn't the type to get into trouble. Something was wrong with this. Police shouldn't be railroading high school kids without clear proof. That night, Maya tried to find out more. She opened her old laptop and accessed a private Discord server for a tech community her father used to be in. There she knew a virtual mentor named David, a former network security specialist. With David's help, Maya traced the file that was supposedly stolen. It turned out the file had originated from an IP address belonging to the Kingston Police Headquarters itself. The next day, Maya decided to go to the police station. She didn't tell her mother, just left a note on the table, "Mom, just going to help a friend. Don't worry." With calm steps, she entered the large building. The constable at the front desk looked at her suspiciously. "Can I help you, kid?" he asked in a flat voice. "I'm here to see the investigator handling the case for the students from Frontenac Secondary, Chloe and Ryan." "Who are you?" "Their classmate." The officer chuckled. "You think this is a playground? A school kid like you can't just walk in here." Maya bowed her head politely. "I'm sorry, sir. But I have important information about that case." Her voice was quiet but firm. "Maybe out of curiosity, the officer finally let her in after a brief check. In the investigator's room, 3 officers were sitting around, looking at files. One of them, a tall man named Detective Rank, looked Maya up and down. "So you're the one with the information," he said, sarcastically. "What are you, huh?" "A detective." Maya stood tall. "I just want to show you that the accusation against my friend is wrong. I have data logs here that prove the file wasn't stolen from the school, but from this building's network." Rank laughed loudly. "Listen, kid. You don't understand adult business. Take your theories and go home before I stick you in the cell next door." The other 2 officers laughed with him. One of them walked over, trying to snatch the USB drive from Maya's hand. On reflex, Maya pivoted and blocked the officer's arm in one quick, practiced move. It wasn't violent, but it was enough to twist the officer's wrist and make him let go. Everyone in the room was stunned. "What the hell is this? Are you assaulting an officer?" "I was just defending myself, sir," Maya replied calmly. Rank stood up, his face red with anger. "A brat like you dares to get physical? You think this is a movie?" But before Rank could move, a younger officer who had been quiet, Constable Ben Carter, put a hand on his arm. "Sir, wait. I know this kid. She helps out with the community outreach programs. She's not the type to make trouble." Rank snorted. "You're too soft, Carter. The world isn't that nice." But Maya had already stepped forward and placed the USB drive on the desk. "The data on this explains everything. But if you're going to keep ignoring it, I'll take this to the CBC." The room went silent. Rank stared at Maya for a long time. He then roughly grabbed the USB drive and threw it onto his desk. "You think you can threaten the police?" "I'm not threatening, sir. I just want the truth." Suddenly, Rank slammed the table hard. "Get out." Maya remained still. Her gaze was sharp, not like a typical high school girl. She knew now that these people weren't just mistaken. They were hiding something. As she turned to leave, Carter looked at her anxiously and whispered, "Be careful, Maya. This is bigger than you think." On the way home, the rain started pouring again. Maya waited at a bus shelter, staring at her phone. She knew her move was risky, but if she stayed silent, her friends would be framed. A message from David came in. "Maya, be careful. I checked the logs you sent. An internal police file was deleted just hours after you accessed it. I think they know you're onto them." Maya took a deep breath. "If that's the case, I have to be ready. The truth has to come out." But from a distance, a dark unmarked sedan pulled up to the stop. 2 men in plain clothes got out, staring at her. Maya knew they weren't ordinary people. She quickly closed her umbrella and ducked into a narrow alley beside a convenience store. The men followed her. The rain grew heavier. Footsteps echoed in the narrow passage. Maya ran, crossed the street, and suddenly stopped at a dead end. The 2 men approached, smiling coldly. "All right, kid, make this easy. Hand over the drive." Maya stared at them, her eyes full of courage. "You have no idea who you're dealing with." Part 2, The Unfolding Truth. The rain had stopped, but the night air in the small house still felt cold. Maya wasn't asleep. She sat at her desk, her eyes focused on her laptop screen. The dim light from her desk lamp highlighted her determined face. On the screen, the data from the USB drive she had secured before going to the station scrolled by line. If this data really is from the police server, it means they deliberately framed high school kids to cover their own mistakes, she mumbled. She opened file after file, finding strange patterns. Transaction logs for a school board IT procurement project, funds that should have been managed by the board, were being funneled into a private bank account with the name Rank. Maya covered her mouth, shocked. So this is why they're so angry. They're afraid this data will leak. Suddenly, a chat notification popped up. It was David. Maya, the data you sent is backed up on an external server. But be careful. I'm detecting access attempts from the Kingston Police IP. They're actively looking for you. Maya quickly typed a reply. They've already come to my house. But I'm not backing down. David replied simply. If that's the case, you need physical proof. Without it, they'll just say the digital data is a fabrication. Maya paused. She knew David was right. Without tangible evidence, all her efforts would be dismissed as slander. But how could she get back into the police station without being caught? The next morning at school, the atmosphere was tense. News that Maya had stood up to the police had spread among the students. Many were in awe but also worried. Ryan, who had finally been released from the station, approached her in the hallway. Maya, I heard you went to the station alone. Are you crazy? Those guys are dangerous. Maya gave a small smile. That's exactly why I can't stay quiet, Ryan. I found something. Something much bigger. Ryan looked at her anxiously. Are you serious about continuing this? Yes. But I need your help. Ryan nodded, still hesitant. Okay. What do I have to do? I need the CCTV footage from the school's server room from the time the file was stolen. If they're the ones who accessed it, their faces will be on camera. Ryan happened to be on the student council, which gave him limited access to the school's technical rooms. He agreed. That afternoon, after all the students had left, Maya and Ryan slipped into the server room. There they began copying the recordings from last week. A few minutes later, the screen showed someone in a police uniform entering the room late at night, then tampering with the school computer. His face was caught clearly. Rank. Ryan stared at the screen, his eyes wide. That's him. Detective Rank. Maya nodded. Now we have proof. But before they could save the file, footsteps echoed outside. Quick, hide, Maya whispered. They both ran behind a server rack. The door opened slowly. Two men in plain clothes entered, shining flashlights. The boss said to check the server room. Said that girl likes to snoop around here. Maya held her breath. Ryan gripped her shoulder, trying to stay calm. As the two men began examining the computer terminal, Maya slowly pulled a small thumb drive from her pocket, and, using a wireless adapter on her phone, began copying the file. As soon as the transfer finished, she whispered, now. They crept to the back door and slipped out without a sound. Once outside the building, they both ran as fast as they could to the park behind the school. They were breathing heavily, but Maya smiled, relieved. We got it. That night, Maya and Ryan were back at her house. They organized all the evidence, the corruption transaction data, the CCTV footage, and the digital report from David. But before they could plan their next move, there was a loud noise from outside. Crash. The front door was kicked open. Several uniformed officers burst in, holding a search warrant. Detective Rank stood at the front. Well, well. Found you, kid, he said with a smug grin. Think you can play games with the police? Rena screamed in terror. Officer, my daughter didn't do anything wrong. She's just a school kid. Rank glared. That's right. A school kid who dared to interfere with a police investigation. What kind of child did you raise, ma'am? Maya stepped forward, staring Rank straight in the eye. If you're so clean, why are you afraid of the data I have? The atmosphere crackled with tension. The other officers looked confused. But Rank shouted, arrest her. Two officers moved in, but before they could touch her, Maya moved with lightning speed, kicking a dining chair into their path, making them stumble. She grabbed her backpack, which already contained the USB drive, and ran for the back door. Ryan tackled one of the officers pursuing her. "Go, Maya. I'll hold them." "Ryan, no. Go." Maya ran out of the house, back into the rain. She knew she couldn't go home tonight. The only safe place was David's house on the outskirts of town. It took 2 hours of walking, cutting through trails and empty lots. Maya arrived at a modest house with dim lights. David was already waiting for her at the door. "Did you bring all the data?" Maya nodded. "Yes. But they know I have proof. They raided my house." David took a long breath. "I expected as much. But now we can prove everything. We can't fight them directly. We have to use their own system against them." "What do you mean?" "We send everything to the Special Investigations Unit, SIU, in Toronto. And one copy to the national media. Once the public knows, they won't be able to silence this anymore." Maya smiled faintly. "Okay. Let's do it." The next morning, social media exploded. An anonymous account named Kingston Truth posted the CCTV footage and the corruption data involving Detective Rank and several local officials. Within hours, the story went viral. Comments flooded in. "Wow, this high school kid is fearless." So it wasn't the students, it was the cops themselves. When will we ever get real justice? Meanwhile, the Kingston police station was chaotic. Reporters swarmed the entrance. Investigators from the SIU arrived. Rank, who had just arrived at the office, was immediately met with suspicious stares from his colleagues. "Sir, is it true you were involved?" one of his subordinates asked. Rank was furious. "Nonsense. That's slander from that brat." But soon, the police chief arrived, his face grim. "Rank. My office. Now." And for the first time, Rank lost his composure. The station he used to control was now in ruins, all because of one student he thought was weak. Back at school, Maya returned to class, tired but relieved. Many of her classmates looked at her with admiration. Chloe approached her, tears streaming down her face. "You're amazing, Maya. If it wasn't for you, we'd still be the suspects." Maya smiled. "I just did what had to be done." But amid the relief, there was also sadness. She knew her life would never be the same. She had stepped into a dangerous world, and her enemies were not ordinary people. But at least, for today, the truth had won. A few days later, Maya was called to the office of the new interim chief of police. She went with her mother and Mr. Jacobs. The chief looked at Maya with respect. "Maya, because of your courage, a lot has been uncovered. We apologize for the unprofessional and criminal conduct of our officer." Rena was in tears. "Thank you, sir. My daughter just wanted justice. And she got it. Because of her bravery, we are now conducting a full review of all procedures regarding the interrogation of minors." Maya bowed her head politely. "I just didn't want any more of my friends to be treated unfairly." The chief smiled. "The country needs young people like you." Several weeks had passed since the corruption case at the Kingston police station was exposed. The name Maya Sharma was now known across the city. The media called her the student crusader. At school, her teachers were proud, her friends were in awe, and even the principal had met with her privately just to thank her. But for Maya, her life was far from peaceful. Every time she walked home, she felt like someone was following her. Every time she opened social media, anonymous messages appeared. "Stop playing hero before you become a victim." At first, she ignored them. But one night, the small stray cat she always fed on her porch was found dead, with a small note beside it, "Remember, rank isn't finished." Maya knew the danger was real. Back at school, the atmosphere had changed. Many students respected her, but some kept their distance, afraid of getting caught in the crossfire. During lunch, Chloe sat down with her. "Maya, you look exhausted. Are you okay?" "Just haven't been sleeping well," Maya smiled weakly. "A lot on my mind." Ryan, sitting next to them, looked serious. "Are you sure this is over? I heard Rank wasn't fired, just suspended pending the SIU investigation." Maya stared at the table silently. "I heard that too. Which means he still has friends on the inside." Ryan looked at her anxiously. "Then you need to be more careful. Don't walk home alone." Maya nodded slowly, but her eyes held a stubborn glint. She knew the danger was real, but she also knew that if she backed down now, everything she had fought for would be for nothing. That night, around 10 p.m., Maya was writing in a small notebook. On the front page, she had written, "The truth isn't finished." Suddenly, she heard a car stop out front. She peeked through the curtains. Two men in dark jackets were standing outside her gate. One of them stared at her house for a long time before they drove off. Maya quickly closed the curtains. "They're still watching." She turned on her phone and contacted David. "David, I think they're still following me." "I got news too, Maya. There's a shadow police account trying to dox you. Don't go out tonight. I'll install a simple security system at your place tomorrow." "Okay. Thanks." But after hanging up, Maya couldn't sleep. She sat on the floor, looking at the photo of her father again. "Well, Dad, it looks like the fight isn't over. But I'm not backing down." The next day, shocking news appeared online. Leaked, new data shows Maya Sharma manipulated documents. The article was complete with an old, candid photo of Maya sitting in the school office. Public opinion began to split. Some defended her, but many started to doubt her. Reena was crying as she read the news. "They're slandering you, honey." "It's Rank's people," Maya said, calming her mother. "He wants to make me look like the bad guy." A few hours later, a text came in from an unknown number. "If you want this to end, meet me at the old warehouse behind the bus terminal. Midnight. Alone." Maya stared at the message. She knew it was a trap. But she also knew it was the only chance to find out who was behind the threats. She hid the phone from her mother and left a small note. "Mom, I have to finish something. I'll be back before midnight." At the old warehouse that night, the rain was pouring. The building looked deserted and dark. A single dim yellow light flickered on one side. Maya arrived wearing a gray hoodie and a baseball cap, trying not to be conspicuous. Her footsteps echoed on the wet floor. "I'm here," she said softly. From the shadows, someone emerged. It was Constable Ben Carter, the young officer who had defended her at the station. "Ben? You sent the message?" Ben looked at her, tense. "I had to see you. I couldn't talk on the phone. After the case blew up, a lot of people in the force lost their positions, and they're blaming me for leaking the data." "But weren't you on the side of the truth?" "Yes. But the system is dirty, Maya. They want to clean house of anyone who helped you." "Then why did you ask me to come here?" Ben looked at her seriously. "Because I heard Rank escaped internal custody. And he swore he'd find you." Maya froze. The rain hammered on the roof. "He escaped?" "Yes. And he's probably not alone. There are ex-cops still loyal to him." A scraping sound from outside the warehouse made them both turn sharply. Suddenly, a window shattered. A bullet ripped through the wooden crate right next to Maya. "Get down," Ben yelled. They both took cover behind a stack of pallets. Footsteps approached. 3 men entered, carrying bats and flashlights. "Find the girl." "Alive." Maya looked at Ben. "I have an idea. Close your eyes when I give the signal." Ben was confused but nodded. Maya took a powerful camera flash attachment from her pocket, something she used for the school yearbook. As the men got closer, she triggered the flash, aiming it at their faces while throwing a piece of brick in the other direction. The blinding light made the men yell in panic. And in the chaos, Maya and Ben bolted out of the warehouse, disappearing into the rain. They managed to escape to the main road and flagged down a passing car. A few hours later, they made it to David's house. Maya was soaked and shaking, but her eyes were still focused. "I told you they wouldn't stay quiet, Maya," David said, locking the door. "I know. But if Rank is loose, we have to help the clean cops catch him." Ben nodded. "I can contact the Central SIU unit directly. They're the ones handling the follow-up investigation. But you have to hide in the meantime." Maya looked at them both. "I don't want to hide. I want to help. Rank will go back to the school. It's the first place this all started. If he's trying to clean his name, he'll go there to destroy the last of the evidence." David sighed. "This kid is stubborn." "All right. But we'll do it the safe way." A few days later, Maya returned to school, under the quiet, plainclothes surveillance of Ben and a small SIU team. She pretended to study as usual, but her eyes were constantly scanning her surroundings. One afternoon, when all the students had gone home, she saw a new custodian enter the admin office carrying a large box. His movements were suspicious. It wasn't a face she recognized. Maya followed him quietly. When the man opened the box, Maya saw it was filled with old files marked with the Kingston police crest. She immediately realized this was no custodian. As she was about to back out and call for help, the man turned quickly. Under the brim of his cap, the face was clear. "Rank. We meet again, smartass," he whispered, a cold smile on his face. Maya backed away slowly. "You think you can erase what you did? I lost everything because of you," he snarled. "Now I'm going to make sure you feel the same." Before Rank could lunge, the sound of police sirens wailed outside the school. Rank looked panicked. Through the window, an unmarked SIU car pulled up to the gate. Ben and 2 other investigators burst in. Maya saw her chance, grabbed a whiteboard eraser, and threw it hard at the room's light switch, plunging the office into darkness. In the confusion, she drove a hard kick into Rank's knee and scrambled for the door. The investigators entered just as Rank was trying to flee. And this time, there was no escape. A few hours later, Rank was arrested again. This time by the SIU, with charges of escaping custody, aggravated assault, and obstruction of justice. The case became national news, highlighting the deep-seated corruption he represented. Maya was called to the SIU headquarters to give